All right, we're live.
Awesome.
How's the weather out in Minnesota today?
I didn't even check, but it's really hot.
Yeah, I just got to the point recently where I'm actually having to use my air conditioner. So it's
Yeah, I've never been to Cali, so I don't know what you guys' weather is actually like, but like when it gets hot here, it's like super humid hot. So
ooh,
our temperature might be lower than you guys, but it's probably nastier.
humidity's bad. I'm a desert guy. Like I grew up in Utah,
Yeah.
which is really dry, like it's like higher altitude than here. But here it's actually nice here. Like during June, it was crazy. It was like cool through most of June. We had like kind of like this June gloom, like overcast, but now it's like peak summer. So now it's like hot as soon as the sun comes up. But it's not humid. It's out here. It's a little bit. I get a little bit of the beach humidity, but
Okay.
I'm sure it's not like where you guys are at. My
Yeah,
dad used
there's
to live in
times it
Atlanta.
could even be in the upper 70s here, but if it's humid, it's just like
Yeah. Oh,
and we got all the like smoke from Canada all summer long.
oh,
So like
great.
the air quality is absolutely terrible. There's constantly warnings and stuff about, if you have breathing trouble, don't go outside. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's nasty.
Yeah, I've got it pretty good. I'm not complaining. I also live like outside the city. Like I don't live in Los Angeles. Like
Yeah.
it's funny because the band Incubus is from like Calabasas. This type of this. It's Conejo Valley is what it's called, which is like the Rabbit Valley because there's a bunch of rabbits everywhere. But yeah, it's a nice area where I live. So I'm definitely when people like Incubus is like I remember when I met Incubus like a long time ago in Salt Lake after one of their shows. It's like, where are you guys from? And they're like, we're from LA. And then when I found out they were from Calabasas, I was like, that's not LA. Come on.
That's funny.
But anyway, do you want to just dive into some of the topics we got for today or?
Yeah, let's do it.
So that first one that you sent, I don't even know that we need to necessarily pull these articles up, but we can. It slows down the stream because when I'm broadcasting from my computer, I think what I should start doing is just taking screenshots of them, maybe.
Well,
But that article about Tom Araya being on that Alice in Chains track. So how well do you know that record Dirt? Did you listen to it at all? Was it an album you were
no,
into?
I mean I don't know the album itself, but I know a lot of songs on the album.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I'm like, holy cow, I don't think anyone knows that Tom's on that album.
No. So, okay, to give people kind of the background, there's a track on the Dirt record called I always knew it as Iron Gland because it's not a song. It's like one of those like a skit track or like
Like an
a
interlude
filler
or
track.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the song he's like I am Iron Gland. Like it sounds like they're like kind of mocking Iron Man
Right.
at Black Sabbath a little bit, but apparently the one of the voices on that track is Tom Araya of Slayer, which if you listen to it now, like I can kind of hear his voice in it.
Oh,
Like
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, so that's like such a cool little
Yeah. After I saw the article, I checked it out and listened to the song, and I'm like, oh yeah, I hear Tom there.
yeah, yeah.
But I
What
just think it's funny. Like it hasn't really been that public, I don't think, for 30 years.
well one of the things I thought was interesting that I didn't know reading that article you sent is the song itself is like known by a bunch of different names. I always knew it as Iron Gland because I think that's what it said on the CD I had
Okay.
on the track listing. But they're saying in that article that it's kind of like got a bunch of different names, like Untitled on some printings.
Yeah, if you go on Spotify, it's just listed untitled.
Yeah, see, that's crazy. I think on the I'm almost positive I should like go dig it up, but I have a CD of Dirt. I should go see if I what it says on there. I'm pretty sure it says Iron Gland
Well, and
on the
apparently
CD.
Tom's in the credits and everything too, in the liner
The
notes and
liner
stuff.
notes.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I wonder because I was totally one of those kids who would buy a CD and sit and read the liner
Oh
liner notes,
yeah.
but I
Heck
think
yeah.
I think with Dirt, I had it on cassette and maybe I just didn't.
Oh, well, and didn't you say a while back, like you didn't get into Slayer until a little bit later? So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
so
I
if you
was
were
not
reading
into
that in
Slayer in those days.
'92, and didn't get into Slayer until a few years later or something, that
So I
that
might
makes
have,
sense. You'd miss it.
yeah, totally. I might have just not even, I probably just glossed over it. I probably saw
Yeah,
the name and didn't even think about it.
yeah. No, I just thought it was really interesting. It's
No,
and
definitely.
it's unusual to have like your thrash metal bands cross over into grunge at that time.
Yeah. Well, Alice in Chains, though, were a pretty notorious, like they toured with all the metal bands. If you watch, like I was obviously like a huge Pantera kid, and Pantera has these the vulgar video or like the basically the behind the scenes videos that they put together because Daryl always had a camcorder. So they put out, I think, three of these Pantera like home videos, like a home video. And if you watch those, Alice in Chains is in all of them. Like they're
Oh
heavily,
well.
like they're in there drinking with Pantera, like hardcore. So it's like of all the grunge bands, I think they were one of the ones that those videos are so cool, like to watch now, even because like guys like Billy Corgan are in them, Marilyn
Mhm.
Manson. There's a
Really?
scene where Phil Anselmo shaves Tommy Lee's head in one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like they're cool videos, but they're also like they're hardcore. They're like they have like footage of people puking, like naked
Uh,
strippers all over the place. And there's one scene in one of them where Phil's like jumping on a bed and you can see his dick flop up. Like it's
back
just like,
back when rock stars were rock stars.
yeah, it's like they were partying. It's funny too because I talked to Kenny from Typo Negative, and I need to actually cut this out into like one of our like shorts or reels. But he talks a little bit about that era because Typo toured with Pantera in that era, and he was like, oh man, he's like, I don't know how Daryl did it. Like he's like him and Rita were rolling on E like every day and just drinking like crazy and like,
Wow.
and he kind of ends that whole story like somberly. He's like, yeah, the people who kept doing that aren't with us anymore. And so yeah.
Well, any listeners who are Alice in Chains fans, go dig up your Dirt album and check that out.
Tom Araya of Slayer guest appearance on Dirt. When we talked to Madeline and Rickard from Elaine, the subject came up of like metal artists doing guest appearances, right? Um, and so like something like that, like Slayer, the guy from Slayer appearing, like nowadays they would put featuring Tom Araya of Slayer or
Right,
something,
right.
on the song. But I like that's an element of rap music I think is cool that like I wish happened more often in metal, that like
Mm-hmm.
guest appearance type thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because we talked a little bit about it with Madeline and Rickard, and he kind of I mentioned that it was and he was kind of like what he said didn't make it seem like he was into the idea. But for me, it's like it harkens back to jazz, right? Like American jazz musicians, that's how they did it. Like they just like
Right,
show up and jam with each other. So
right, right. That would be another cool segment. We come up with like a top 10 songs with guest vocalists on it.
I love it. I love it. I'm all about it. I still haven't, because I've been so busy editing our interviews, I still haven't cut up our top 10 of the 2000s yet, which I'm
Oh,
going to do. That's next on my list. But
well, you're a busy guy.
yeah, and we did those interviews. Like, man, I was listening to that song Mind Right by Drowning Pool this morning. That is
Yeah,
a heavy song. I love that song. Like, seriously, I was tripping on it this morning. I'm like, this is dope. Like,
yeah,
it's so cool to have those experiences and to talk to them. Even like Saliva's newer stuff is heavy. Like
yeah.
talking, I edited our interview with Bobby, and that was like, honestly, man, it's funny because I still need to edit the one I did with Elias from Nonpoint, but I feel like Elias was a little less forthcoming, I guess. Like it was, I
Mm,
almost felt like I kind of caught him at a busy time, and it was like, you know what I mean? Like he was like in the middle of something, like, hey, yeah, sure, whatever. And no offense to him at all. Like he's a rock star, you know, he's a busy guy.
Right.
But I think like our conversations with CJ and Bobby, like the rewatching the one with Bobby, like he really goes deep on some stuff. Like
Yeah.
you had him talk about some memories of Wayne, and you know, he talked about how, you know, Wayne would want them to continue doing music, you know, in his absence and stuff since he passed away.
Yeah.
And so it's
Well,
like,
that's what I don't think everyone realizes like how interviews can go sometimes. It's like, you know, that we're trying to get a slot, they're trying to get a slot sometimes. And, you know, sometimes everyone's life is busy at certain times, you know, and,
yep.
you know, I've had interviews where like dude's picking up his kids from school while he's on the phone. It's like, this isn't ideal, but it is what it is. And you just, you know, you roll with
Yeah.
it. And
I mean, I'm like I said, I'm grateful to get these people's time whenever we
oh,
can
for
get it,
sure.
you know,
Yeah.
because they're obviously busy artists, and you know,
Yep.
our channel wouldn't exist without them.
Yep.
So it's yeah, but it's true. It's like hopefully I'll get another chance to talk to Elias down the road. But it was like one of those things where I could just like it was hard to get much out of him. You know, I was kind of trying to probe him for stuff, and he just wasn't really
Just
he wasn't really
preoccupied.
in a place where he seemed like he wanted to talk
Yeah.
much. And I'm not the kind of person who's gonna be like, well, you know, and just keep pushing him. So
Just order your Chipotle already and get on the phone with me.
yeah, I haven't at one point I was like, yo, if we need to take a break so you can or something, or maybe do this another time. But anyway,
Yeah.
no, it what I guess what I'm saying is when I rewatch it, it probably went better than I thought it did. Because even with the one with Bobby, I was like, wow, we didn't. But you got you got a lot out of him, like talking about his daughter
Mhm.
and that video that they filmed for the song, that's kind of with his friend playing the main actress or being the main actress in it and stuff. So it actually
Yeah.
ended up being a really good interview. Like,
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's why I like doing it together, because sometimes it's just like, you know, you catch things or remember things that when you're alone, you know, the pressure's on you when it's just you and the interviewee or whatever.
yeah,
And so sometimes it's a little more awkward. And this just feels like dudes hanging out and we just get someone to join us, you know, so it just feels more relaxed.
it's much better.
Yeah.
I also love having alternative perspectives, right? It's like, because
Mhm.
you know, I mean, I have this is subjective, and it's like my opinion on stuff isn't the end all be all, and vice versa. So it's nice to have other people in the mix, like, you
Mhm.
know, with different views and like different opinions and all that stuff. So
Yeah. No, I've done you know, interviews with guys that share the same faith as me. They sing in like a Christian band, and it's real easy for me to connect with that, you know,
yeah,
because we have the similar faith and things like that. And then I've had other ones where it's like I've had no connection with them outside of digging some of their songs, you know. It's, you know, you just got to try to find a way to keep talking. But
yeah, and it's also like part of it too is it's like with a situation like Saliva, for example, right? It's like I want to be respectful of these people, you know, like maybe talking about Wayne's passing is like a sore subject with him,
right,
you
right.
know, and so it's like I don't want to go down that road if he doesn't want to talk about it. But he was very open about it, and you know, very cool about it. And then, you know, same thing with Drowning Pool. It was like their original singer died when they were like at the height of their fame,
Right.
and CJ was very like forthcoming about, like, he's like, yeah, I mean, that happened, like it sucks, but you know, he had a good attitude about it, and he's just like, that song is the gift that keeps on giving, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, without never meeting these people, you never know how things are gonna go.
Totally.
I remember one well, it's out there, so I'll just say it, but Diamante, do you know her?
Yeah, I mean, I know who she is.
Okay, well, anyways, so like her first record she put out through a record label. Her second one, I think she went independent or something like that. And I follow her on social media, and I knew that she like just graduated with like a business degree and stuff. So I'm all hyped up. I'm like, you know, I'm assuming that she dumped the record label to, you know, pursue this all herself and really step out there. And I kind of presented it that way in the interview. And she's like, oh no, they actually fired me or dumped me or whatever. And I'm like, oh crap,
Oh,
that didn't go the way I expected. But no, she was real sweet and just rolled with it too. I don't think she was too embarrassed by it, but
yeah, I mean, most people are most of these artists are pretty cool people. Like, they're not gonna be. But man, I saw Metallica. Lars was on Bill Maher, and I thought about covering this in one of our bits, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But Lars was talking about meeting the Rolling Stones, and it is so messed up. Like, he's going like, yeah. So we were allowed to like say hi to them, and then we had to like we could get our picture taken with them at a certain time, and it just seems so pretentious. Like the Rolling Stones are like the most pretentious dickheads of all time, and Lars was being super cool about it, but Bill Maher was even going, really? That's terrible. You're Metallica, come on.
Right.
So it's hit some. I think that type of a situation, though, in this day and age is very rare. Most people in bands are very down to earth, very working class about because a lot of them don't make a ton of money.
Right.
If they're
very appreciative of fans.
Yeah.
I know, like at shows and stuff, anytime I've got to meet a musician or something, like super nice. They just want to interact, get to know you, and
totally.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like I feel like bands like Drowning Pool, for example, that's their bread and butter. Like a guy like CJ going out on tour and just shaking hands with people, and I mean that's how Metallica got to the point that they're at, their dedication to their fans. I mean, they're the kind of band that would stay there for 4 hours after the show and shake every person's hand until everyone's gone, And when you're not getting played on the radio or MTV, that's how you do it. It's ground. It's like politician, like ground game type stuff, Like,
well, and I've actually wondered too, like just from a business standpoint, what bands actually make the most money based on everything they have to do.
Yeah. I mean, what was I would like, one of the YouTube videos that came up the other day was about merchandise, band merch. And honestly, I read an article years ago about the record industry, and it was talking about how, and this was before iPods were a huge thing and MP3s became a thing in streaming. And they were saying how most bands don't make shit on record sales, but a band like Slayer, for example, makes a ton of money on merch, while a band like the Rolling Stones make a ton of money touring. And so there's like all these different ways that artists make money besides record sales, because even when record deals were a big thing, artists didn't make shit off record sales or play.
It was mostly touring and merch and stuff. But
totally.
I just even wonder, like touring. So like you get a band like Metallica, no doubt they're making a ton of money, right? But they still have a crew of probably 100 people or something, and you got to pay all them people a living wage. I mean, and you just wonder, like, at what point does certain bands make more or less percentage wise?
Well, and then with that, like, you're basically a business owner. And Josh from Buck Cherry spoke to this a little bit. He's like, I run a company, like I'm an entrepreneur, like, and it's great. Bobby in our Saliva interview talked to this a little bit. He's like, we run a corporation, like we got bills to pay just like everyone else and stuff. So I mean, Metallica too, their new album, they independently released. They released themselves.
Oh, so I didn't even realize that. Wow.
Yeah. All the streaming profits from anything here on out are theirs to keep. That's why this is a little off topic, but there's this kind of conspiracy theory online about Kanye West, right? Basically, when all the stuff happened, when he kind of said all the stuff that got himself canceled, it was like a year ago or something, his record contracts were fulfilled. Like he had done all the albums he was supposed to do for his label. He was like out of his record contracts, and a lot of people speculated that he said like crazy stuff in the press so that the contracts, like companies like Adidas and stuff, would drop him, and so he could go independent. Because now everything, like, even if he lost half of his fan base, everything he makes now is his and his alone. Like, there's no middleman anymore. So it's a crazy time as an artist, like especially if you are already an established brand like a Metallica,
Yeah.
where everything they do from here on out, like they can do by themselves, really.
Right. Right. Well, speaking of Metallica, you want to move to that next one?
Yeah.
So I
Go ahead.
saw this one, and I guess I didn't realize the date. This is from like autumn of last year.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
okay.
just, and this, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I just got a chuckle when I read this. I'm like, this is so stupid.
Yeah,
Who's Matt Healy and who's 1975? And then he's
so
saying Metallica's the worst band of all time. I'm like, okay.
so first of all, the 1975 isn't terrible. I don't know if you've heard any of their stuff,
I've
but
never even heard of them.
but here's the thing. It's their music is basically rehashed 80s pop.
Okay.
It's literally like 80s, a retread of 80s synth pop. And it's
Okay.
not bad, but it's not anything unique. And
It's
so
not
here's the other thing I
original.
think. What's that?
It's not really original.
No, like they have this song. The one song I know of theirs is it's about like going. It's called like You're Leaving with Somebody Else. It's like the song's about like he goes to a club with this girl and she leaves with someone else. And that's like the whole theme of the song.
Okay.
But also that guy, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on this because I'm not the most avid teen gossip guy, but apparently that guy was dating Taylor Swift recently, and I'm pretty sure it's the same guy, Matty Healy, I think is his name, and a
Mhm.
bunch of like the Taylor Swift people want him canceled for racism or something. Like he said or did some like racist shit or something, like that they're like he's a toxic male who needs to go or something. So
So this guy just stirs controversy.
yeah, he's just one of those. I mean, I'll do credit to him. Like I always say, anyone that's doing music as a living, like hats off to you because
Right.
that's tough. But maybe he just says stuff like this because he's like kind of like one of those Trump type guys who just knows how to stir the pot and get the press to
Sure.
talk about him.
Sure.
You know,
Well, maybe
it's like
I chuckled. I think because I think when I saw it and then I went back and I looked it up and I sent you the link to the article. And I think I don't think I sent you the same one that I originally saw, because the one I originally saw, it said Metallica is the worst band of all time. And then I think the one I sent you, it says it's his worst band of all time, like
oh yeah,
meaning his opinion. But that first one that I read, I'm like, really? You think Metallica's the worst band of all time? Like they're selling out arenas after 40 years, like
yeah.
that's so stupid.
That's the thing that I always got mad about with the Spinal Tap thing. And so some guy in the comments was talking about, because we talked about it when we did the piece with Geezer Butler a while back, and he talked about Spinal Tap, and
Mhm.
this guy in the liners was like, wow, or in the comments was like, yeah, you need to do your research because Spinal Tap's not about Iron Maiden. And I was like, look, read any of the people who wrote that movie said it was kind of a parody of a bunch of different bands. Like it wasn't anyone specific. It was
Yeah.
like Maiden, Priest, Journey, probably. Like I'm sure there were Sabbath. I'm sure there were pieces of different bands in there, but even just the look of them they looked a lot like Maiden. And so my thing was just the point I was making is that, yeah, the movie has some funny parts. It's definitely like Kenny from Typo Negative was like, I can't even watch that movie. He's like, I've lived that movie. but my point was that the bands that it was making fun of are still filling stadiums. So
Right.
I think they
Right.
got the last laugh.
Right. For sure. Yeah. No, I just wanted to share that article with you because I thought the headline was funnier than anything else. But
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna share these photos I have of this magazine. So I have like a huge magazine collection, and I'm like, what can I use these for? I need to just like shred them or sell them or whatever. But in the short term, I was like, you know what? It might be interesting to open one of these and just look at what was going on. So this one was from here. I got to find the piece now, the file.
Did you find it online or did you take a picture of it?
Well, I took a screenshot of it, but sometimes it's weird. Like sometimes Zoom, I'm like, how portion? I'll just share a portion of my screen, I guess. No, there's a way to share the actual files. I think I need to have them open. Let me do that. Yeah. Here we go. I'm still learning here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is the cover of the magazine. Can you see it?
Yep.
So that's the cover. It's I don't know if you can see.
This is from 05.
Yeah, June 2nd of 05. Man, I probably should have covered up the stupid address, right? Not that it matters because I don't live there anymore.
Right.
And it's not even my subscription. But
is 05 when the last is when episode 3 came out of Star Wars?
I think so.
Okay.
Like it's one of those movies had just come out, but I thought this is what was interesting. So what I tried to do was skim it for anything metal, hard rock, and there was honestly not a lot in that world in this particular issue. I mean, Rolling Stone really is more like about Coldplay and stuff like that. So, but this had just come out, so this is the first thing, and the Mesmerize album, produced by Rick Rubin and Darren Malakian. I didn't know Malakian got a production credit on that, but it makes sense now that I think about it.
So I love every System of a Down album.
Really?
Yep. And I like them each in their own way, but I think that one might be my favorite.
Really? I love that one. There's so many great songs on that record, like Cigarro, and just I mean, I think honestly they were peaking like Toxicity. The first 4 records are so good.
Well, I feel like Toxicity is like the child that got all the attention.
Yeah, kind of.
But then people like forget like, oh, there's a firstborn that like was really good, and like this, well, the double albums here, the twins, are just amazing.
So I wanted to share this too. So they were one of the featured stories in it, and the articles by Neil Strauss, who I don't know how much you know about Neil Strauss, but he wrote a book called The Game, which is a really popular book about picking up women.
Oh.
And so Neil Strauss, not only he was well known before that for being a biographer of famous people. Like he wrote Dave Navarro's biography. I think Jenna Jameson, Marilyn Manson. He wrote a bunch of like celebrity biographies, and then he worked for the New York Times, and he got assigned to cover this like pickup artist community. And so that's what the book The Game comes from. But he ends up hooking up with Courtney Love in the course of this book, and like I think he married one of the women from the band Hole. Like I'm pretty sure the girl that he ends up hooking up with in The Game is from the band Hole. And the book The Game is actually, it's a really good book because it's about these dudes who like they're like they like get into like examining human behavior so they can go out and pick up women, and they call it sarging. And they have these groups where they study like behavior, and they do all this stuff. Like they call it like peacocking. So they like wear flashy stuff, so when they go out to clubs, like women notice them and stuff. And it's this whole thing. It's a really great book. But the end of the story is he kind of he realizes like these guys make themselves better people. They like start going to the gym and like reading books and like self-help things and like taking better care of their physical appearance and all this stuff. And it's like at the end of it ends up being these dudes trying to get laid, learning something bigger. It's a really good book.
Oh, like learning more about themselves and stuff.
Yeah. And he ends up like, he becomes kind of cynical about women because he gets really good at picking up girls. And then at the end, he ends up like falling in love with this woman and like getting married. And it like kind of, it's
like a real life American Pie.
Kind of, yeah. it's good. It's good. So anyway, this was the head article, and I'm not going to even try to like read the article, but just this little poll quote: "How will System of a Down follow up their strangest, angriest, and most awesome album of prog metal yet with an even a better album in 6 months? Now, if they could only mend their..." So that was this. The Hypnotize record came out after that, which is, I think that's smarter than releasing a double album, like releasing two separate ones, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the last one, this one's probably the most interesting that we'll share here on this. Oh, if I can get back to the controls. Check this out. This is a review of a Limp Bizkit record, and then it has at the bottom, it has these 3 Buy These Now records: Bruce Springsteen, Beck, and Weezer. I don't know. I kind of actually like that Weezer record and the Beck one. So I haven't listened to the Bruce Springsteen one. Anyway, this is a Limp Bizkit album review for The Unquestionable Truth Part 1. And this we can probably read a little bit if we want to, but they only gave it 2 stars. And I don't even remember that one that well.
I don't think I've heard a single song off of that album.
Yeah.
I mean, I really liked their first album when it came out. Their second one, again, got all the attention, blow up the band, everything.
Yeah. I like the first Limp Bizkit album a lot. That's the only one I really like a lot. The second one has some good songs, though.
It got too, I don't even know what the right word would be. I was never a huge Bizkit fan.
Yeah, me either.
Everyone was listening to it at the time, like when I was in high school and stuff. And same with Chocolate Starfish. That one was still pretty big, but I felt like after Starfish, they just kind of fell away. Nobody I knew talked about them anymore.
Yeah. Well, Wes Borland, I just saw him actually like a couple months ago. He's playing with Danny Elfman.
Oh, really?
You know who Danny Elfman is?
Yeah.
Yeah. He played. I saw my buddy is like a huge Danny Elfman fan. I'm not like the world's biggest Danny Elfman fan, but I think he's amazing. I didn't realize how old he is. He just turned like 70 or something, and that dude is yoked. He's in great shape. And his band was like all-star band. He had Josh Freese, who is now the drummer of the Foo Fighters, and then he had Wes Borland playing guitar, and just like all-star band, and just played a bunch of Oingo Boingo tracks and a bunch of stuff from Nightmare Before Christmas. But anyway, I thought this was interesting just because you can tell this is 2005, so they're already like hating hard on the rap rock thing. There's a point in this, he's like, if you still get hot over 1998 vintage rap metal, you may have nostalgic hopes for Unquestionable Truth, though it's just 29 minutes. But surprisingly, it's an all-out imitation of Rage Against the Machine. Fred Durst.
29-minute album?
Yeah.
Wow.
Fred Durst redesigns his flow as a blatant replica of Zach De La Rocha. I see someone in a rage killing Dimebag on stage, while Borland imitates Tom Morello, but Durst gossip maven's note. Yeah. Anyway, Rolling Stone.
I have heard Wes Borland is like super nice guy and super good.
Even Fred Durst was on. Fred Durst was just on Bill Maher's podcast like a couple weeks ago or a month or so.
Oh, really?
Maybe it was, yeah. And I actually did a piece about it on one of our a while back, I think. Oh no, did I just? Anyway, he.
Oh, your mic went out. Just lost sound altogether. Still can't hear you. Your mic lose power, and then I don't know if you got to.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, I can at least hear you.
Check.
I can hear you good now. Yep.
Yeah, so this thing has like a short in it, I think. But anyway, that era, Limp Bizkit, they Fred Durst seems like a cool guy, and in the Bill Maher interview, he says 2 things that stuck out to me. The first was that he felt like Limp Bizkit became music, like the Bully guys like the jocks and whatever that were like mean to him when he was a kid, he said that ironically became Limp Bizkit fans, and everyone saw it as like those guys' music when he was like
Right,
always
right.
not those guys
Yeah.
as a kid. And then he also said that he called it his Spinal Tap. Like he's like, he basically said he started Limp Bizkit as or he got into it as a joke because he wanted to do film,
Oh,
which I thought was interesting. And he's like, and then I had Jimmy Iovine and someone else telling me, no, you're gonna be a rock star, dude.
well, I've always wondered that about Limp Bizkit because they always like
Uh-oh.
they never
Hold on a
seem
second.
super serious.
There we are. Can you hear me still?
I can, yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I always felt like they never took music too serious, and I don't know if that's what kind of hurt them after a while.
Yeah, I mean, like the first probably the only time I ever saw them live, they opened for Faith No More on the Album of the Year tour, and they were great. And I thought what was cool about them is they had a playful energy about them. You
Mhm.
know, it wasn't like they weren't taking themselves too seriously, and that was kind of what was cool about them. But yeah, I think there's a point when you kind of have to go either way. But then that second album, I don't know, that had some really good stuff on it too. So
Well, their performance at Woodstock '99, did that help them or hurt them? I don't know.
yeah, that's a good point. I just think all those kind of bands, it was like the late 90s, the new metal thing after Korn, because Korn organically fused the darker metal with hip hop. Like Rage had a good like rock, like it was almost like an organic fusing of Aerosmith and Run DMC. But then
Mhm.
Korn was like an organic fusing of like, you know, dark death metal and like Ice Cube. You know, it
Yeah.
was like that was new metal, and it's kind of like that era foisted like Kid Rock was big in that era, like
Mhm.
and so it's like I feel like that was that kind of just fad. Limp Bizkit, I don't know. I like they instead of going the direction like that album, Significant Other, right? It had a song in there called Rearranged that I remember
Mhm.
really well.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's a really good song. It's catchy. It's got a catchy chorus. It's not really a rap rock song. And I feel like bands like Incubus were smart enough to go, we're being lumped in with this like new metal scene, and we're like not that. So we're gonna kind of take a hard
Right.
left in the other direction and like just.
Right.
But Limp Bizkit kind of like went down with the ship,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they could have like reasonably like gone in a more like rearranged direction and done more of like that kind of like radio friendly type.
Well, I mean, you think Linkin Park too, another
That's
huge
a great
band that
example.
at
Yeah.
first got lumped in with that new metal, and they're like, we're going a different direction,
Yeah.
and they made it. I mean, they made it huge. So
Yeah. Yeah. That guy Shinoda, man, that guy's a G. The rapper guy from Linkin
mhm.
Park, and then you know Chester. Like it's. I don't know if you ever heard the song he did with Mark Morton of Lamb of God. Did you ever hear that song?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, that's a good song.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like it would be cool to hear. I was sad that when he passed away because I was like, it would be cool to hear him do heavier stuff like this because it was like it was a good heavy song with a melodic vocal, and it just Mark Morton's guitar lines with his voice worked really well.
that album, Mark Martin's album, is really good
It
altogether.
is. It has Miles Kennedy too, I think, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, Mark Morton's. I love Mark Morton, man. You know what's an interesting story about Lamb of God? Because my son is a huge Lamb of God fan, and I knew this. I found out about this because of my son. You know the song "Redneck" by Lamb of God?
Hmm.
Apparently, Mark Morton wrote the lyrics to that song about Randy, the singer.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, that is so fucking cool that he was a good enough sport about it to sing it.
Yeah,
No, and because he fully knows it's about him, you
yeah.
know, and like listen
Wow.
to the lyric, like read the lyrics knowing that, and it's like, oh, that's messed up. But it's like another example of a band that like I'm sure that they fight a ton. You could tell they do. But they managed to keep it together despite that.
Yeah.
What else do we got to talk about today? I think we
All
got there's a
right.
couple.
Well, you said
Um,
something about Joe Rogan.
yeah. So I'll cut in the the photos in post because I don't want to like slow our live stream
Well,
down.
yeah, I looked that up, and Joe Rogan looks like he's having the time of his life, but
Yeah.
Axel does not.
It's so funny because the first I heard about this, someone on Twitter shared this photo, and that's exactly what the caption said. It was like Joe Rogan looks like he's happy to see Axel, but Axel doesn't look very happy. And Joe Rogan actually posted that photo on his Instagram.
Yeah,
And if you look at his Instagram post, when you flip, there's a video of him side stage at a Guns N'
right.
Roses show.
Yeah,
So he's like, he basically, the caption is like, hey, we randomly ran into Axel at this restaurant in Greece, and he invited us to come see Guns N' Roses live. If you ever get a chance to see them live, you should do it. They're amazing. And
yeah,
then when you flip Joe Rogan's Instagram over, there's footage of him side stage, like with the, so you can see the crowd, like, and Axel. So Axel looks pissed off in the photo, but he obviously wasn't. Like
right.
maybe
You know, it's just a terrible photo to
I,
post because Axel looks like he's really got to poop and he
he's,
can't get up to go.
you know what I said is I was like, Axel just has resting bitch face. That's just his default like look. He's just like,
Yeah, I read the article first and I scrolled down and I saw the picture. I'm like, that does not match what I read, but
Axel has RBF.
uh,
Okay, so let's talk about the Nuno Betancourt thing. Because I think, did you send me the original story about that?
yeah, well, what was it, 2 weeks ago? You were talking about the band Extreme. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, you might be interested in this. So I didn't know what you thought about that, but it looks like it's taken a whole new spin here now too. So
Yeah, so I didn't know. I saw Nuno's Instagram post because we follow him on the Brutal Planet Instagram, and so I was scrolling through one day and I saw him, like, I was like, what? He's like talking about Slash in here? What's going on? And I guess I don't know who the other guy is. There's another guitar player in the mix on the Instagram post.
yeah,
It must be Rihanna's new guitar player or something, I'm guessing. Um I mean, I don't, like, I need to like fully read up on the whole thing, but basically the gist I got was Nuno said something in some interview about how like there's not many guitarists that can play for Rihanna because it's such a blend of different
hmm
genres.
hmm
Like you have to go from like dance hall to like R&B to funk to metal to, you know, she even does like a Tame Impala song, which is like basically 70s rock. But and so some guitarists like dragged Slash into it somehow. Like, I bet Slash could do it. Are you trying to say Slash couldn't do this or something like that? And maybe Slash is Rihanna's new guitar player. I like, and so the vibe that I got from it was like Nuno was just kind of in his Instagram post was kind of defending himself, basically just saying like, yo, look, that's a tough gig. And so he's like, I wasn't dissing Slash, I wasn't saying Slash can't do it, I was just saying it's a tough gig for any
Well,
guitar
there
player.
again, like, was it poor choice of words on his part? Was it the media spinning it a bit? Was it
Yeah,
people overreacting? Was it a mix of all three? Probably, you know.
yeah. Here, I'll you know what, let me read his post actually. It's just to get the whole context here, and we got a few minutes. Okay, so the he posted this photo of an article, and the guy's handle is 4TUS. So okay, here's what Nuno's post says. I'll just read it. He says, "Welp, I knew this was eventually coming. You can't be blessed and be on multiple Guitar Magazine covers at a shocking 56 years old. Get this much attention for your playing and a new album as a rock guitarist without another guitarist stirring up some shit." In responding to this, not because I give a shit about what this guitarist thinks about me, but instead because I hate to think my few words offended a hero of mine Slash and possibly fuck up my relationship with him. So this guy somehow dragged Slash into it. Like Nuno made some comments about how it's tough to be Rihanna's guitar player. So here's his clarification. He's like, I'm sure you're a decent player. I've repeatedly, respectively, never heard you play one note in my 56 years of being alive, and only know your name from the Rihanna camp and as a replacement player in Guns. So apparently this guy was a replacement player in Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I'm just looking him up. It looks like he's been with Guns since 02.
Okay. As if I'd ever think Slash isn't capable of playing any Rihanna song in his sleep. Let's get something fucking straight. To me, Slash is one of the greatest rock guitarists of my generation and of all time, period. And this guy, Fortus, if you knew me, Fortis, that's his name, something Fortis. If you knew me, here, let me click through on this. Richard Fortis, that's the guy's name. If you knew me at all and where my heart is, you'd know what I meant. And the statement was not about Slash or his capability. It was about rock guitarists like myself or Slash switching genres and the awkwardness of playing these feels. No shit, Slash can play these songs. Thank you so much for pointing that out, as if we didn't already know that. So yeah, that guy was like, I bet Slash could play it. And he's like, no, I'm not dissing Slash. As far as you shining a light on my ridiculous statement that Slash would struggle, yes, a poor word choice. Oh, there we go. On my part. Personally would hope that Slash, who is a peer and influence, would be more mature to understand that what I truly meant as a guitarist by that comment. In mentioning Slash as an iconic rock example, I meant in general a rock guitarist would find it not a struggle, but feel like a fish out of water as a player. That's all I meant. So he's like worried that Slash is going to think he's dissing him. That's why he responded on Instagram. I'm glad we unraveled that.
It's entertaining.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that we're still talking about Nuno Betancourt right now goes back to my point about the Spinal Tap thing, where it's like, yeah, sure, make fun of rock bands all you want, but Iron Maiden still and you know, Metallica and Megadeth still fill fucking clubs and stadiums and fucking venues wherever they go.
Right.
And same with, you know, Extreme is a band that, like, again, I've been a fan of them since the song Kid Ego came out. And that riff is that's a great guitar riff. And there's so many of these bands that I didn't expect Extreme to still be you know what I mean? In conversation.
Right.
In popular music in 2023. That alone is an accomplishment, you know?
Right.
Whether you like their music or not, the fact that people are still talking about their band, you know, 40 years later. I mean, Kid Ego, I'm pretty sure came out in the late 80s.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And Nuno City's 56. So.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I had one other thing we could touch on. I had something about Cheap Trick on backing tracks. You know what? I'm just gonna break my own rule here and load this up and just take a quick screenshot of it. And we'll share it like that. So we've talked a lot about the backing track thing here. We talked about it with Ken Mary that was such a cool interview too. Ken Mary from Fifth Angel. He basically was like, yo, I love Kiss. And when I went to see Kiss, you know, I didn't really care that they were using backing tracks.
Well, I'd say the same thing. I saw Shinedown back in April. And I'm sure they're using stuff, you know, but they put on a heck of a show. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's
So I got mixed feelings on it but then at the same time, I'm like, dude, if you can't play a show without backing tracks, like, just stop. Don't.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a band anymore.
Well, and so the reason I wanted to bring this up, and we've got about 7 minutes before Homeboy comes on, but I wanted to tie this to something someone said in the comments, actually, of one of our videos. And so Rick Nelson, guitarist, weighed in on bands relying heavily on pre-recorded tracks. In recent years, more and more artists have been given a pass for relying on pre-recorded tracks, drum triggers, and other assorted. Drum triggers are different. I think we need a more viable definition of what drum triggers means.
Was that like a click track, or what's he talking about there?
So to my, like, this is my definition of drum triggers, and I think if you're in a metal band, specifically a death metal band with a lot of kick, you absolutely have to use triggers live, because what a drum trigger does in that scenario is it picks up the signal of the drum and runs it through a sample. And when you're playing that like that live, having a mic'd kit, it just doesn't cut it, because you're playing like milliseconds. You know what I mean? And so by the time you hit one note, 3 other notes haven't even got to the back of the room yet. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like the triggers helps iron that out, and it makes it like much easier for a kick and a snare to be audible and in time. And when you're playing in a bunch of different sized rooms with different acoustics, I feel like drum triggers are like, I wouldn't, but backing tracks are different. So anyway, sort of technology that makes concerts more synthetic, but also more consistent. For better or for worse, pre-recorded tracks are becoming increasingly common for touring artists in all levels and genres, and they're not just used in pop music. So one of the things I wanted to tie to that is this guy was talking about how the change in production tools, he was tying it to how, because we were talking about how, think of like classic albums that have come out since after the 90s, like early 2000s. There's not near as many. And this guy was saying it's because of Pro Tools. He's like, it's because the art of recording, like recording as a whole professionally, switched to a digital thing.
Mhm.
And it's much less natural. It's much more processed and synthetic, and just like, there's like a Led Zeppelin album versus like a, you know, what's an example, like a Greta Van Fleet album. You know, it's like, just to get like, to compare apples to apples here.
Mhm. Yeah.
No offense to Greta Van Fleet people. I don't think, I mean, I do think that they're very similar to Led Zeppelin, but they're kids. I've always said with them, it's like, they're very young, you know, they're wearing their influences on their sleeves. Like, as they get
Mhm.
older, they'll you know, they'll be better.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about all that technology, how you record and stuff, and how that would change everything live and stuff too. And I don't want to talk out of ignorance or anything like that, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know, I still really appreciate when you hear a band just play live without any help, you know. And so there, I went to a cover, well, they were covering all sorts of 90s music and stuff here locally, and they just did an excellent job, Dustin. I mean, you would have been impressed. Like, they were spot on playing together.
Yeah.
You might hear little mistakes here and there, but it just told you, like, yeah, they're not making very many of them, you know. They're just really good at playing together, and I just really appreciated that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always impressed with good live music, even if it's genre I don't love. You know,
Mhm.
I saw a live country band at this, you know, like, it was like one of those park festival things. And just a couple months ago, I saw the Atomic Punks and this Ronnie James Dio tribute at this park in Encino. And I mean, that's like probably the most recent, just like flat out. It was like a barbecue at a park with like
Mhm.
some local bands type thing. But they
Mhm.
weren't local bands. They were like, you know, all these guys have been in. One of the bands had like the singer from the Bullet Boys, the former singer of the Bullet Boys, and, you know, had a bunch of there's this group called Steamroller that was like a bunch of former members of bands like Whitesnake and stuff. And
Okay.
there was no way any of these guys are using backing tracks of any kind.
Yeah.
You know, it was totally off the cuff, and it was great. It was great. And there's something to be said about that. I mean, I can appreciate bands who are doing like a machine type live tour thing, where it's like, this is our show, this is how we do it. You know, maybe they're playing to a click, they have some triggered or backing tracks and arrangements that play, maybe some backing vocals or something, whatever. Beyond that, it gets a little dicey. But even with that, it's like, I much more appreciate, for me personally, I much more appreciate bands that try to do that live. Like if they have backing vocals in a spot, the guitarist sings it or the drummer sings it or someone else has mic'd up to sing the backing harmonies. And even if it's a little off, it's fine.
Oh, I'd rather that than
that's.
And then if you get into the arena stuff, like I said, Shinedown, you know, when you're doing a production that big and there's like pyro going off and fireworks going off on time, like, sure, okay, you have to do all that stuff.
If it's timed like that, I understand being on a click track. You know, but also there's something to be said for it being a little looser too. So it really just depends on I think what people's preference is. And as long as, like we're saying, as long as you know what it is and you're comfortable with it as a ticket buyer, you're like, look, I know Shinedown's going to be a little more mechanical than maybe, you know, this band I saw at the park the other day, but I'm cool with that as a fan. It's perfect.
Totally agree.
Well, and some of the, okay, cool. Yeah. And some of these bands are, you know, they're old school and some of them are new school. But I thought, just to tie that again to that comment, that guy made a great point where it's like, I'm like trying to think of, I'm like, what albums post 2000 can I think of that were recorded like Pro Tools that there, it's not near as many. Even listening to, there's Homeboy. He's joining us now.
Awesome.
Got it.
Blake.
Hey, Blake.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm Joey. This is Dustin here. Just been chatting for a while.
Okay, sweet.
Thank you for taking the time today, sir. Appreciate you.
Anytime. After this, let's I'll exchange, get my personal phone number over to you guys. So in case you want to do this again, it's, you know, I can schedule it with Tim, or, you know, we can just do something real on the cuff when we're on tour.
Awesome, man.
So where are you calling from now, Blake?
Just got home. So when we were on tour on the last date of the tour, we just got off of, we were pulling into the exit. We were less than a mile away from the venue, and the rear axle of our bus just snapped. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it sucked so hard. And where are you guys based out of?
I'm in the LA area, and Joey's
I'm in Minnesota. I'm just north of you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're just north of us. Yes, because I'm in Iowa, and I'm not used to that Memphis heat, bro. And like that shit, that air was thick, dude. Like, can you guys see my notifications going off? It sucked down there.
Oh man,
dude, it sucked.
Bro, I was in Des Moines at the beginning of June, and it was hotter in Des Moines than it was in LA. No kidding. I know we get a lot of humidity. Is it humid much out there in LA? Where I'm at, a little bit, because I'm a little bit north of the beach. I'm kind of out in the burbs, like almost Santa Barbara, Conejo Valley area, like Woodland Hills, type area. But yeah, it was a trip, because Des Moines actually too. I hadn't been there in such a long time. Very cool city. Like I was actually really impressed. I had a great time in Des Moines. Yep, I love Des Moines. It's such a good time. It's about 4 hours from where I'm at. So yeah. Well, a lot of great bands.
Iowa is just cornfields and pig farms. So
yeah, still like 90% of it.
Yeah, but there's spots I said Illinois, didn't I? Iowa. But there's spots of Iowa that are absolutely gorgeous, like on the river and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, anything on the east side of Iowa is awesome. You get over by Davenport and Keokuk and Dubuque and everything. I mean, it's really nice over there.
Yeah.
Yep.
My dad went to college, and I lived in Ames as a kid, so I spent quite a bit of time there. My grandfather lived in Des Moines, so. Oh, awesome! Yeah, so you're an Iowa State guy. Your dad was. Yeah, my dad was an Iowa State graduate. Awesome. We're Hawkeyes, so I mean, we're gonna have to really bicker about that. No, it's cool. My grandpa was a Hawkeyes fan, so there was always like as long as Iowa State wasn't playing the Hawkeyes, it was cool. Like we're Iowa State as long as they're not playing the Hawkeyes. Yeah, right. Yeah, we're the same way.
I root for both of them. I'm not too. I grew up in a Hawkeyes fan, but as long as Iowa's playing and Iowa's winning, I'm fine with it either way.
Well, a lot of great bands come out of Iowa, man. Slipknot, and then we just talked about some of our favorite records. And have you ever heard of the band Modern Life is War?
I have not.
Okay, well,
Are
they're
they
from
out of Iowa?
Marshalltown, but they're a hardcore band that I love out of Iowa too. So,
okay. No, I'll look into it.
Don't feel bad, Blake. I never heard of them either.
You didn't either? Yeah.
No.
You know what? I thought they were super obscure, but I've worn the shirt like out in public, and a couple times had dudes come up and then like high five me, like so.
Oh, okay. They could name the 3 songs.
Yeah.
You know, like that whole meme thing, like name 3 songs. Yeah. Awesome.
So you just finished a tour with Memphis Mayfire and Norma Jean, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
What was it like touring with those guys?
It was honestly, it was the best tour we've ever done. There was such a good camaraderie between us bands, and like the mentality of like our job is get in there, get the sound check, do your job, rock the house, high five, and we're on to the next one. And like everybody had that mentality, and like, you know, we got to certain spots, you know, like when we were in Gainesville, Florida, like the venue didn't provide any like hands, you know, to help load in or out after the show. So like, you know, Memphis Mayfire or sorry, Norma Jean gets done, and like they're getting ready to roll off stage. All the Saul boys and our couple crew are in there. We're loading them off. We're getting them packed up. Memphis Mayfire gets off the stage, and we're loading them guys up, and we're loading in and out with those guys, and we're all just high-fiving, having some drinks, and like we just are there to put on like a kick-ass rock show, no matter how it happens. And like everybody had that mentality, and it was great. It was great. That's seeing awesome. Maddie and Kellen, you know, grab some of our gear and like, come on, boys, you know what I mean? Like everybody was that. It wasn't like headliner down, you know, it was everybody was just like, let's kick him in the teeth and keep going. It was great.
Well, I've never met, you know, the guys from Memphis, but I've met Norma Jean dudes, and they're just so down to earth and so nice, and that's awesome.
I absolutely love those dudes. We had such a good time with them on the road, you know, so I would do anything for those guys, honestly. And like I told Maddie, I'm like, you know, this is the Remade in Misery tour, but you got to understand I'm the king of it. So
So growing up in the Midwest, like what do you like to do for fun when you're not on tour or anything?
Honestly, you know, I'm just constantly tinkering with stuff. We make our own light productions, and we do stuff like that, and I'm always programming lights and or doing something along that line, you know, welding up a new, you know, light truss, anything like that, anything that will, one, make it easy to travel on the road, and two, something that's always newer than what we just did the last time. So I'm always tinkering with something like that. I love doing stuff like that. I recently just got into, I bought a laser engraver. So I recently, like the flasks and the Zippos and all that stuff that we bring on tour, I've been making art myself now. So I like tinkering. I like doing stuff like that. Anything that's like that, I like doing that.
That's really cool. But you're really handy and stuff with building things.
Yeah. I've done that kind of stuff off and on for a lot of years, and like handyman stuff. And like my neighbor will call and be like, "Hey, my sewer's backed up," and I'll go get an auger and I'll clean out our sewer for her. And like, you know, anything like that. Like, hey, I got a window broke or whatever, and I'll replace a window. It's just like I like doing stuff like that. So it's always fun.
Well, we were just talking to CJ from Drowning Pool last week, and he's very handy and stuff too. And he says he'll fix stuff for venues when he's on the road. And then when like 2020 hit, you know, he had something to fall back on when there was no touring and stuff. So that's really
he's
cool.
He's like a full electrician.
Yeah.
Oh, is he really? Yeah. Well, I went to right before Brother blew up. I was on my second year of my plumbing apprenticeship. So I've done a lot of plumbing. I do a lot of stuff like that. I still do stuff like that just for, you know, a buddy that's doing a project, and he'll call me up and be like, "Yep, I'm on my way," you know. So it's always fun, you know, and it's always something to fall back on too.
Yeah. That's exactly what he said. He was like, we took a break with COVID, and I had something to fall back on. The other thing that I thought was cool with CJ is you know, being an electrician, he's a guitar player, so he's like modding guitars and amps. And I was like, man, you gotta have a YouTube channel where you like mod guitars. I'll watch that all day.
Yeah, no, that'd be super cool. I'd be totally into that too. Yeah, I love that stuff. Zach's actually been tinkering around. He had one of his old Schecter 7-strings. I know he's been tinkering around, and he's gonna put new pickups on it, and he's sanded it down, and he's gonna be refinishing and, you know, just stuff like that. He's got a little workshop in his basement, so he's in the same boat. He does all that stuff, but he's more of our electrical guy when it comes to the band. I'm more of the like build it, figure it out, and make sure it can travel kind of guy. And he's like, he handles all the rack and the programming of the songs, and like he does all that stuff. So it's pretty nice.
That's super cool.
Well, can you tell us a little bit, maybe just give us a minute or two history of the band for any listeners that aren't familiar with you guys? And
Yeah. So the band started, I mean, shoot, we've been playing since high school. So Zach and I have been playing together forever. And he's my brother. He's my 1 year younger brother. He's actually the one that got me into music because I started as a bass player, and like that's one of my main things that I, you know, can do. And he just called me up one day, and he's like, hey, our bass player sucks. You know, do you want to come play bass for us? I've never picked up an instrument in my life. And I went and bought a bass like that day, and rock and roll music corrupted my mind ever since. So we've been playing together forever. And so we always started, we were like the Saul brothers, you know, the Bedsaul brothers. And like, we were just doing that sort of thing. And, you know, just working full time and then playing gigs on the weekends, doing stuff like that. And in 2018, we decided like, hey, let's either do it or don't, you know what I mean? Kind of shit or get off the pot thing. Like, let's go full bore. And so we got Willie Boy, our bass player. And then at the time we had Joe Nichols, our drummer at the time, but he recently quit in 2020. He wanted to have kids and do the whole life thing. And once we did that, and we released the track Brother, we were like, this is either going to blow up and we're going to do the thing, or it's not. And we're just going to continue working and plumbing and doing the whole thing. And yeah, it just blew up. And, you know, and since then we've got Miles, our drummer, which is, that guy's a jack of all trades. He's very good at pre-production. I mean, he's a great drummer, great guitar player. So it's great to have him. He's a good asset, very good asset to the team. And yeah, and now we're doing the thing.
that's awesome.
Awesome.
So
I
this,
noticed, Joey.
Oh, go ahead, Dustin.
I was gonna say, I noticed watching some of our stuff as I'm editing it. Me and you say "that's awesome" in unison a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, so this second album here, how do you guys go about the writing and stuff? You all live pretty close together and you can get together and write songs, or do you do the online thing?
We do some online stuff. Miles is down in Columbia, Missouri, and Willie Boy, our bass player, in Lincoln, Nebraska. So nobody's too terribly far away. But
Okay.
My brother Zach, I bought a house right behind the alley from my brother Zach. So we are literally, I can spit on his house from my place. So it's really cool. And my dad lives a block away too, so which is really cool. But one thing we did on this record is we did some pre-production, we did some stuff. But when we got in the studio, we just decided to go ground up on everything. We're in here, and like, it's not like we were in our place recording something or just coming up with ideas. We're just like, let's come up with an idea and let's just riff it out, and let's do everything from the ground up. So that's really, we did every song like that on the record. And it turned out, I mean, I couldn't be happier with it. You know, when we did the last album, Rise is Equals, we brought in 3 or 4 songs and then reworked them and did stuff like that. And sometimes I feel like that can be a little more challenging, of reworking a song and trying to, you know, you're almost like at a point where you're like trying to force it to fit rather than just like coming up with something fresh on the spot and just going for it. So we decided to do that on this record. And yeah, I think every song turned out like with its own flavor and its own flair. And it turned out exactly the way we wanted to.
Yeah. Well, Tim, your publicist, sent it to me probably close to a month ago now. So I've been enjoying it for about a month, rocking
Nice.
it quite a bit. The title, where did that come from, and what's the meaning behind that?
Yeah, and I will clarify first, like right off the hand, it's not the last record Saul's going to do. So let's.
Yeah, I figured not.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people ask, like, "This is your last record?" As soon as we put out the title of the record, people were like devastated. But it's not our last record. It's just the concept of the record. So the idea is, so I have a daughter that just turned 14 years old, and like she has this like concept of like the world of like seeing people on Instagram and TikTok and like how great and grandiose, life is. Like they're on vacation all the time, they're doing the thing. And like the whole concept of the record is most of that stuff is put on. Like it's you don't know what's fake, what's real when it comes to social media anymore. People are just, everything's clickbait, everything's just there for the likes. So that's really what the concept of like the title is. Like, this is at the end of everything. We're losing that personal connection. We're losing that idea of what we know is real, because with AI and like people just putting on fronts of like their life is so perfect when they're really struggling with mental health and paying their own bills and doing all that stuff. And this is at the end of everything is really that sort of concept. And we dove in really hard with the song A Million Miles, where in the music video, and I'm a huge fan of like the show Black Mirror. Like I love Black Mirror, like Outer Limits, Twilight Zones. I love those kind of, every single story is its own individual story. So when it came to like the concept of the video and the song, is when they are in a moment where they have to recharge their VR and they have to recharge what they consider like the perfect life, they are so like at each other's throats and like depressed, and they're not in the system anymore. So that's really what the concept of A Million Miles is, when they're not looking at your phone, and like you can be sitting within reach of somebody and still be a million miles away, just tweeting about something rather than having a normal conversation, talking about something while you're having your coffee, you know what I mean? So yeah, we really dove into that. And like in the video, it finally turns green at the end, and like they're stopped fighting each other, and then they just all smiles. They're back in the VR, back in what they consider like the new reality. And like it's really just talking about, you don't have to be like that. Just get out there and live it a little bit. You don't have to be on your phone capturing every moment. Catch it in your head. Tell the story. People love stories. I love story time. So, just do that.
Yeah.
A little more. I mean, I'm not saying take it away completely. I'm not saying like change exactly the way we're doing things. I'm just saying sometimes just think about not trying to capture the homeless guy on the street on your phone for clickbait and like, doing shit like that. It's just, I find it super annoying.
Yeah, maybe instead of filming him, like buy him some dinner or something.
Have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Try to find out why he's homeless.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a super small town guy. I live in a town of like 600 people, and like when we're on the road, I'm a sucker for like, hey man, you got $1? Hey man, you got $1? And I do that constantly. Like I give away my per diem like freaking every damn week because I'm just a sucker for it. And I don't ever videotape it. I don't talk about it. It's just something I do,
Yeah.
Man, you got to be careful about that. I had this experience one time that was so funny. It sticks out to me so much. This kid walked up to me at a gas station and asked me if I had any money. And there was this woman behind me, and she goes, just like without even hesitating, she's like, "Motherfucker, you ain't poor. Look at your shoes." And I turned around and look at the guy's shoes. He's got these like pristine Nikes on, and I was just like, wow, I never would have thought to look at the guy's shoes. But this lady was street smart enough to go, this guy ain't poor.
I cannot believe you said that. I can't believe you said that, because that's my brother Zach is so like savvy. He like, I don't know, he just understands like it's around same damn thing. He's
look at their shoes.
Always like, hey, buck, here's $5, here's whatever. And then he's like, look at their damn shoes. And
That's
I look down,
smart.
the guy's wearing brand new, clear, like pristine white K Swisses. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, dude. Because if he was actually homeless, like actually needed it, he'd be wearing ripped up freaking whatever shoes. I'm like, that totally makes sense to me.
Southern Californians are so generous, man. People, and it's very wealthy. There's a lot of wealth here, and there's a lot of very generous people. People will park at the, the off ramps and make $500-600, I'm sure, just standing there with the sign. So it's like, you gotta.
Yep.
But I feel you, man.
Totally
I'm like you. I just want to help people.
Yeah. And like, it's like, obviously if it's $1, I can't hardly buy anything with $1 anyway. And if somebody comes up to me like, hey man, I need $1 to make whatever. Yeah, here's $1. Here's $1. Here's $1. Here's a cigarette. Here's a whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's no skin off my back. I'm still going home at the end of it. And if I think the guy's still going to be sitting in Memphis, like sweltering heat on the side of the street, yeah, I'm probably going to give a buck.
Yeah, you do what you can.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
your other music video, Blake, Tooth and Nail, I don't know if you want to talk about that. That was well done.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to say about the music videos that I think is really cool, and we did post this on TikTok, but and Instagram Reels, but all the sets for the music videos, me, Zach, Will, and Miles, we built all the sets. So yeah. So there was this big open warehouse down in St. Louis. We worked with Juan Ibanez, and really great guy, really great camera work and editing. He's so fast. He's really good. And brought the concepts to him. So I brought all the concepts to him, and he's like, great. And then cleared out this entire warehouse. So we went in, built all the walls, hung all the sheetrock, did everything. We built everything, and they turned out great. And like, one thing that he brought to the idea is making that mirrored room that we did Tooth and Nail in. And he's like, I got this idea, and he bought all the materials. We hung this mirrored room, and it just turned out so freaking awesome. The floor's mirrored, all the walls are mirrored, and like, I didn't know how he was going to do it, but obviously it worked. I'm like, how are you not going to catch yourself? Like, how is it not going to be a guy with a camera, just videotaping us, but he's like, it's just the angles and blah, blah, blah. He had it all figured out. He knew what he's doing. But it was great. It turned out great. Tooth and Nails video is one of my favorites we've done. It just turned out so cool. And like, one thing that is great about Juan, what he did is he captured the real, like, me doing little dumb sketches of like, this is what I'm thinking, and texting it to him, and this is what I'm thinking for the concept, and texting it to him, and he's like, yep, we can do that. And, they just turned out even better than I was thinking, honestly.
That was awesome. There we go again, Dustin. I just caught myself.
At least I didn't say it at the same time.
Yeah, no
because that's what I noticed. Like every time we're both like, "That's awesome."
Yeah. Awesome.
So Blake, one thing I like to do when I interview about an album, I talk about a couple of the singles, but then kind of do a little deep dive and talk about some of the tracks that maybe haven't made it on the singles or something yet. But I really liked the New Low. Great riffs in there. And I was just wondering, I don't know if you write the lyrics and stuff, but like, what was your inspiration behind the lyrics there? And was that about a specific person or just an idea or what?
Yeah, I do write, I'll say 98% of the lyrics. There is always feedback from other guys if they, have have an idea based on the concept I throw out. So everybody, if I'm having trouble writing a line or saying something right, they're like, oh, what about this? And I'm like, nailed it. You know what I mean? So that's really where their input comes from on the lyric side. But the New Low, I'm glad you brought that one up too, because that one was almost one of our singles. It was so close. But that song is like factual. I'm saying some real stuff in there. My niece is just turned 21, and she got really bad into drugs. And like, my wife and I were over all the time and just like, hey, you don't have to be going down this path or whatever, move in with us, kind of, take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But, I say in the song, like, you were 4 states away, making a scene high on the mean. And I'm talking like methamphetamine, and like, she was down in Arkansas, and like, with who we don't even know who with, and like, they kicked her out of the car. She was like butt naked on the side of the road. The cops picked her up down in Arkansas. She made like the news, and I'm like, what is going on? And and like, one of these days we're going to read your name in the obit page, the obituary, just because you're going down such a dark path. And it's real lyrics. All of our songs are real life experiences. And, it's pretty much just, kind of like, we can't help you anymore because you can't help yourself. Like, you've reached such a point that you are the new low, you are the new standard. So that's kind of what we're saying,
Yeah, I found that song stuck in my head quite often over the last few weeks and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just got musically as well, just a great song.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do you mind talking about some of the inspiration behind some of these songs?
No, I like it.
Okay. Us AD, that was another one that kind of stuck out to me.
Yep. So the guitar player and myself were brothers, and in 2019 we lost our mom. And when we were doing the record Rises Equals, we were trying to do this. We were actually working with Mark from Nothing More at the time, and we really loved their song Fade In Fade Out, and we're like, Mark, let's bring you in, let's help us write our Fade In Fade Out. We couldn't get it happen. It was almost too fresh for us at the time, and like threw a lot on his plate with that, just telling him like, hey, this is what it's about, and like, you know what I mean. It was too much. And so when it came to doing this record, we started writing this song, and no concept was out yet. And then we started coming up with some lyrics and doing the thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna write it from my dad's perspective of losing mom. And we had no call tag, we had no title for it yet, and we just kept going through it, and then just kind of come up with these call tags and everything. And Zach just goes, how about us AD, us after death? And I'm like, bro, so we reworked some of the lyrics there, and like just really pinpointed it to the idea and the concept of my dad's point of view of losing mom, and like, this is life after losing you, and it's and I'm pretty much just kind of waiting for you to come back. So it was a really tough one. And when I said lyrics like it's okay to go, and like everybody's like, boom, dumb, that's crazy, it's too real. So that one I'm super glad we got that one done, and like off our chest, for our mom and for dad, because I just think it turned out to be such a great song.
What does your dad think of it?
He loves it.
Yeah.
My dad, he has the new record, and like he loves this entire record, even more than Rises Equals, which he loved. And just he loves the song, and like he knows how real it is, and like emotionally charged it is. And it was pretty teary-eyed the first couple times we listened to it. I mean, even our daughters, the first time I showed it to them when we got back from the studio, they were all crying and everything. And it's a real thing, it's a real song.
Yeah, well, I got that feeling on the album. I mean, you guys did a great job producing, writing, all that stuff. Music's really catchy, but the one thing that kind of grabbed me, it did feel like, even though I don't understand where all these lyrics and stuff came from, it feels real. It feels like this is real life. And
Yeah.
I feel like that really came across in the album.
Good. I mean, because that's one thing we really try to strive for when we're doing music, when we're writing songs, is like we really dive in on the lyric and like the basis and the idea of the songs. Because one thing we try to do, we call them lifelong songs, is because even though it's direct experiences I've had, it's still, when we put it out there and we really experienced it with brother, is when you put the song out there, they're like, I lost my brother in 2019, I lost my brother in 2012, and like, it's like, even though it's my experience, it's everybody's experience as well. So that's why I try to write from such a introspected spot in my life, so because it defines somebody else's moment in their life as well. So it's just the way it is. And I'm not an emotional guy. I don't talk about my feelings. I bottle stuff up, and that's just the way it is. So when it comes to the songs, it's everything is real, and it's real life experiences. So that's my moment that I push it out there and I tell everybody about it.
Yeah, that must be very therapeutic then for you, to, if you normally bottle, to have an outlet where you can just let it all out that way.
Yeah, it really does help. I mean, but on the other hand, I get super nervous about releasing a record too, because I don't talk about my feelings. So when I put it all out there on a record, I'm like, God, they're gonna hate it. They're gonna hate it. I know it. So
don't be nervous about this one, man. This is a great album. I've seriously been rocking it for a while. Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Thank you.
People feel if it's genuine too, like the sentiment's genuine, it's coming from a genuine place. I think that really translates. People catch that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they catch the authenticity of it and like the real nature of it, and and especially having a backstory of like I can tell you exactly what this song's about. You know what I mean? So I think that's a cool part of it too.
Yeah.
Better as a Memory. I wanted to ask you about that one as well. What's the story?
Yeah, that one. That came from kind of a dark spot, in my life. Right around the lockdown, I felt like with the album coming out and everything, I felt like we were on like the rocket up. You know what I mean? We were the next big thing. Revolver magazine's like the next big thing. Loudwires is the next big thing. So when we had that nosedive when it came into COVID and we still released our record and everything, I very much get into my own, I'm just going to go off and do my own thing to like my wife and kids and everybody. And, I was drinking a lot and I was just being dumbass, like depressed myself. You know what I mean? That's the way I was. And I didn't know what else to do. So it's pretty much my apology song to my wife and kids of like, I'm sorry that I was dragging you down at that time. It wasn't easy for anybody. And I was thinking I was making it even harder. So, cut me loose because deep down, I'd be better as a memory because like, you just need to cut me loose for the moment. You know what I mean? That's really, so I'm apologizing really.
Wow. You really did bury your whole soul on this, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
That's what art's for.
Yeah, I think so. If you're going to do it, I mean, might as well do it to the fullest,
Completely.
One other thing. Who does the majority of your guitar writing and stuff? Is that your brother then?
Yep.
Yep.
And what was great about this record too is because Zach does majority of it, and he does a lot of it, and even like pre-production here and having riffs and just having a riff when we go to the studio. But a great thing is Miles, our drummer, he's a great guitar player as well. And then Kyle Odell, he's a monster guitar player. So, and that was a big reason Zach wanted to work with Kyle Odell. And because when it comes to studio work and who we're going to work with, Zach picks who we're going to work with. And this is the reason why we're working with them kind of thing. And he just explains it to me. I'm like, cool, I'll party with whoever. So having those three guys, Zach, Miles, and Kyle, in there in the studio, all chunking over a riff and like really defining it. It was a great thing to see. I wish I was a little more open and I caught a little bit more of it on my phone just to have for, footage and stuff like that. But I'm so in the moment that I'm just, jiving with it and going with it. So, but yeah, those three together was, it was very, very cool.
That's cool. The song Runaway, I noticed the time signature in that song is like, it's totally different than your normal 4/4. I'm not that big of a musician, so I can't break it all down, but I could really tell that one's got a cool time signature and different kind of thing going on.
Yeah. And like, okay, so like a great story, like a backstory behind Runaway is I'm in the studio, I'm finishing up vocals for the song The Last Parade. And Zach just, in between one of my takes, Zach's like, I got this idea, I'm going to go back to the hotel. I'm going to lay something down and see if, let's see where it goes from there. He gets back to the hotel, comes back a couple hours later, has the entire music bed down for Runaway. So he gets back and we're like, boom, love it. This is freaking awesome. And so since it was all scratch tracks and everything, we re-recorded, he re-recorded all the guitars and we did the drums and we did all that stuff. And, and it really happened really, really fast. Like within like 40 minutes, I'm like pretty much cutting the chorus because we got the chorus and then like, all right, and I got the verse down and the idea was like, I got to get out of the studio. It's already been like 42 days we've been down here and I'm running from myself. I'm, treat me like a runaway because I'm vanishing and like, I'm laying out all these lyrics and everybody's loving it and everything. And we get the whole song done. And it was the very last song of the record. And it just happened so fast. And it turned out it's my favorite track on the record, honestly.
Oh, really?
And it was
that's cool.
Yeah. Yep. And like, it just happened so fast that literally before we could wrap our minds around it, we're cranking it back. We're like, dude, we're done. That's it. Good job, guys. Let's head home. You know what I mean? So it was a great ending to the whole thing, especially just Zach to come back and like, boom, here it is. And me just go like I'm running and like just laid it out there that fast. And it was super awesome.
Yeah, Dustin, if you hadn't heard that track, and I don't know how much time you had to listen to the album, but that's it. You might like that one. It's got different thing going on.
The promo link that you sent me, I didn't work for some reason, so I just listened to what I could on Spotify. But I'll definitely have to do a deep dive into discography.
Yeah.
When does the album come out?
July this Friday, July 28th.
This Friday. Okay, great.
Yep. And that's actually so on the day the album drops, we are releasing the music video for Runaway as well.
Oh, awesome. Really? Okay.
Yep. And we've you guys know like Quantum Leap?
Yeah.
The show Quantum Leap. So,
Al, why haven't we left yet?
Yeah, exactly. So we almost had Scott Bakula for this video. This freaking close. Bro, I wanted Scott Bakula so bad I could taste it. It was the very first thing I brought up about doing music videos.
Oh, that's
Scott
amazing.
Bakula. So he had scheduling conflicts. Otherwise, he was going to do it. So we that idea of the Quantum Leap and like the idea of the song is like, you know, and like going back to my daughter of like, not everything you see on TikTok and Facebook is real. I mean, it's generally 50% of it is like made up for clickbait. And so the idea is like, he jumps from life to life to life, you know, for a moment in the music video. And then at the end of it, the doctor, because it's called the Runaway Project in the music video, and he's signing this waiver and everything. And the doctor's like, so what do you choose? And he just goes, my life, because everybody has problems. He sees that everybody's, you know, dealing with stuff and doing the whole thing. And that's kind of what I'm trying to explain in the song and the video, that, you know, it's not all hunky dory. Everybody's going through something.
Joey, just in case, have you seen Quantum Leap?
No, I'm not much of a TV guy. So
it's about this guy. It's an older show too. It's about this guy who leaps into different people's bodies in like different periods of history, and he has to fulfill something. And then when he's done, he leaps into a different body, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And the reason I remember it so well, there's this rapper I like who has this line. He's like, Al, why haven't we leapt yet? In one of his songs. And like, that's the, like when Scott Bakula thinks he's finished the thing that he's supposed to do, he's supposed to leap. And then in almost every episode, he's like, why haven't we leapt yet? Like what haven't we completed yet? Type
yeah. It's so good, dude. It's so good.
It's a great show. It's a great
show.
When
did the show come out?
It's like the 80s,
right, 90s.
I think. 80s, 90s. Yeah, 90s actually. 80s, 90s. You're right.
Something. Yeah. It was before my time, but I mean, I catch him. I've watched it all.
Yeah, I was really young. I remember when it aired. It wasn't like I was probably like not their demographic, right? Like I was probably like 10 or 11 or something. But
yep, same. Yeah, it was just something that was on TV, and I didn't care.
There's so many shows like that. I look back, I was like, I used to watch Cheers all the time when I was like 12. I'm like, what the hell was I doing watching Cheers? Just because it was on after cartoons.
Yeah. And I'm laughing along with them, and I don't get half the jokes. You know, at the time I did. Now it's just like, oh shit, they're talking about like being drunk and doing something dumb. So it's okay.
Yeah.
So Blake, you said your axle broke down. That was down in Memphis when you were on tour.
Memphis. Yeah.
So did you make it up to Wisconsin for Rockfest in mid-July?
By the skin of our teeth, and it was like the best show we've ever done in our entire lives. So it took us forever, bro. Took us forever to get anything rented. Like the U-Hauls they were renting couldn't leave the city. Couldn't leave city limits. We couldn't rent anything that would haul our trailer. Finally we went out to the airport and we rented a couple pickups. We went to Walmart, bought a couple tarps, we tarped everything, and we just flew up to Wisconsin as fast as we could. It's like 13, 14 hours from Memphis. And we pull in that morning, no sleep or nothing, and just rocked the house. Like it was huge crowd. It was just amazing. It was amazing. But we just looked at each other and we're like, we're not missing the very last show on this tour, especially Rockfest. We know everybody's going to be there. And like, it turned out to be amazing. We made it happen. And Yeah, and then went straight back to Memphis and waited on the bus, and yeah, it was awesome. It was super cool.
Yeah, I was hoping to get there this summer, but I had major knee surgery a couple months ago, so I'm still in a wheelchair right now, recovering. So I didn't make it there, but it was good.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
That's cool. I also saw plans for the rest of the year. It looks like you guys are going on tour with Red.
Yes, super stoked about going out with Red. Been a fan of those guys for a long time. I think it's just going to be awesome. And the cool thing is we're hitting some of the same markets we just did with Memphis Mayfire. So it'll be cool to get back to there after just like a month or two of a break. And then we've been hounded about getting back to Texas. So we got 3 Texas dates coming up in November. It's legit. We're super excited about it.
Yeah, I saw you guys are coming through Minneapolis. I think it's in October and
mid-September, I think.
Or September. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make it to that show, and hopefully I can meet you face to face or something like that. But I think you guys are playing
Awesome.
the Caboose. Have you ever been there at that venue before?
No.
Oh, it's really weird because like a lot of venues they go kind of lengthwise, and this one's like super wide. So it's just a really weird venue to play in, and
Okay.
it'll be interesting. See if you like it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting. We heard it's going to be interesting.
Have you played many shows up in the Twin Cities here?
No, it's been a while. We were there with the Treyu in 21 was the last time we were there.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you guys getting out to the West Coast on this tour?
Nope, not on this run.
No, okay.
Not on this run.
We gotta wait.
Yeah, because last time we were there was with the Treyu as well. We did Santa Cruz and Santa Ana with them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a while.
Well, hopefully we'll see you out here soon.
Yeah. Well, Santa Ana, are you far from like Anna? Like it's all like.
Yeah, it's like an hour. It's like an hour. I just
okay.
saw Under Oath and Periphery out there a little while ago.
Okay. Yeah, dope. Yeah, because it was great venues, man. Like it was really cool to be out there. That was our first time in California area, and like I got actually 3 cousins that live out in the one in San Diego, and then 2 up in the LA area. So It was really cool that they all came out and had a good time, and it was the end of the tour. So I mean, we were drinking, having a good time, and pretty much a little family reunion, and it was cool. I liked it
awesome.
a lot.
Yeah, Orange County. It sucks because I missed Periphery because my son worked late, but Under Oath was killer. And I mean, Southern SoCal shows are always great. I just saw Norma Jean a little while ago too. They actually played in LA, and they were amazing.
Yeah, that was their headline run, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was with Emery and Aaron Gillespie from Under Oath.
Okay, yeah. They're great dudes. I love those dudes.
Yeah, we need to get Corey on, Joey. I bet we should talk to them about getting Corey on again. I talked to him right when All Hail came out, which I freaking love that album.
Yeah. He's a great dude.
Did you grow up listening to Norma Jean? Like,
honestly, I always saw the name. I didn't listen to them. I really didn't listen to them. I was more. I mean, when I was coming up, I was way more into like I listened to like A Perfect Circle and Filter and like Deftones and Tool. Like that was my music choice, stuff like that. So I didn't get into much of them, but after meeting the guys, I'm definitely gonna go through their back catalog. I mean, them just as people won me over just to be a fan of their music. So it was cool. They're great guys.
Yeah, it sounds like you're into a lot of the more kind of this, like a lot of the stuff I am, like the grunge era, kind of like melodic type rock.
Yeah. Like my favorite record of all time is 13 Step Perfect Circle. I love that.
That's
record.
A great one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a bad track on that record, and that's just where my vein of music really, kind of stuck.
The one before that's great too, Murder Noms.
Oh yeah, Judith. I mean, Judith is like one of the best songs ever written, if you ask me. I mean, so good.
Oh man, I love that album. There's a song called Arrestes on there that's really good.
Yep.
And So much good. Brenya, like the very last song.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love that.
dude.
Like just yeah, that's a great record. Damn.
Yeah.
We just did these countdowns where we listed like our top 10 favorite records, and it's so hard to do that, to kind of narrow
Yes.
it down like that.
Well, we
That's
were
why
doing like
did
our top 10 of like a decade. So like we did the 90s first, and then we did one from like the 2000s, you know. And
Yeah.
God, it's so hard.
We got
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
2010s next.
Yeah. Got to.
It's content for us. Well, Joey, sorry, I didn't. Do we got you got more questions?
I asked him about the songs I wanted to. So Blake, I mean, it's free for all here. If you want to plug anything or say anything to the listeners. And
Yeah, and just anybody listening, July 28th, the record drops. Make sure you follow us on any social media. Everything is Saul Band Official. Go to saulofficial.com. It's got direct links to everything you need. It has our music videos up there, direct links to our YouTube, everything. Just make sure, if you guys want to, follow along. If anytime you message any of the social media links, it goes directly to me. You are getting a personal message from myself. So don't think it's, you'll get the automated like, hey, thank you for messaging. But as soon as you get a message back, it always directly from me. So yeah, follow us along. Hopefully we see everybody out there on the Red Tour, and it's going to be exciting. I mean, I'm super, super excited about this record. I'm super excited about this fall tour.
That's cool, man. We were actually just talking about bands giving it that personal touch too before you came on, how important that is. Like bands like Metallica, who stayed 4 hours after their show and shake everyone's hands and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yep. We always try to do that. I mean, anytime we play a show, we always make our way back into the crowd for pictures, or like make our way back to the merch stand to shake hands and sign stuff. I mean, we wouldn't be there without the fans. I mean, I don't get the shunning the people that are writing your paycheck. I don't understand that from some bands. Ronnie Radke. And so we always try to do that.
Yeah. We talk a lot about the backing track thing too lately.
Yeah. I mean, we use backing tracks too. I mean, it's just part of the game anymore. But when we got to a venue on this last tour, our computer and everything went down. We call it barebacking. You just get up there and you bareback it, and you just put on a fucking rock show. Get up there and do your fucking job.
That's just what we were talking about.
That's
It's
the
just like,
attitude.
if you use it, great. If your fans know you're using it, great. But if something goes wrong, you still got to play your show. Like people paid to see you.
Yeah, and there's no shame in using technology. We talked to this guy a couple weeks ago from this band Fifth Angel, kind of an older thrash band, and he was even saying he's like, I went and saw Kiss a few months ago, and they were using backing tracks, and he's like, I didn't care. I was just happy to see one of my favorite bands.
You're right. Yeah. I saw Kiss a couple years ago, and like they were playing with Def Leppard, and like Def Leppard, I don't know, man, those guys sounded amazing, like super, super good. So by the time it got to Kiss, the sound quality and everything, I was just like, I'm going to see him for the nostalgia of it. But Def Leppard really brought the house down, man.
I grew up listening to Def Leppard, man. Like when I was in like fourth grade, rocking Hysteria, that was like game changer.
Yeah. Well, my wife absolutely loves Def Leppard, because when she was a little girl in the car, her mom was cranking "Pour Some Sugar on Me" and stuff, and that's what they went grocery shopping and stuff too. It's
That's
like
amazing.
the cassette of that. So yeah.
We were talking about it on another show, but like both that song and Cherry Pie by Warrant, there's this comedian this comedy show I watch, Kill Tony, and like when they're making fun of a girl for being a stripper, they'll like play a clip of Cherry Pie or like Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Yeah.
But by the same token, those songs, like they're not like now that you could say, oh, that's like a stripper song. But like I grew up as a wholesome little kid in Utah rocking, Def Leppard. So probably same with your wife. Like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Well, you guys, I can't recommend enough. Check out this Saul album when it comes out on Friday. It's awesome. So, and then go to saulofficial.com. We can put a link or something in the notes here, and hopefully support you guys. So
Get out and catch them live when they come to your town.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's up on our Bands in Town. It's up on everything. So, we got the links up and we got everything up, all the dates. So yeah, hopefully we see you guys out on the road, and we're just gonna tear it up.
Awesome.
Blake, it's been so great talking to you.
Yeah,
man.
Thank you for
guys.
taking the time.
Anytime, literally anytime.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Cool.
Take care of yourself, brother.
Yep. Later, fellas.
Another cool one, man.
Down to earth guy. Love it.
Very cool dude. Yeah, I really dug that song, Jack and Jill, but I just kind of listened to what they had in their singles on their Spotify. Because when I hit that link you sent me, I couldn't get in. I think it's because it's personalized for you or something.
Sure.
Sometimes they are. They're pretty careful. Like with Metal Blade, you can just log in to your profile on their account, but sometimes if the link is like written specifically, you have to click it directly from your email, or it won't work or something like that. So that might have been the problem. But either way, that guy, like, sometimes, I think in that case, it's like you obviously listened to their newest record and had good questions about it. So
yeah. And I mean, based on what I know of you and your tastes, this might not be your thing, but after talking with them, I'm sure you can appreciate the songwriting and all that stuff. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I listened to it too. I really dug the song Jack and Jill. Like I said,
yeah.
I'll have to, after talking to Blake now, I'll have to go back again and listen. Like he was even saying, he's like, I don't know Norma Jean, but just from touring with them, I want to go listen to their stuff,
Yeah.
So it's the very same thing. You can affect people like with music, different factors, I guess, come into play. Like if you, like we were saying, Metallica out shaking everyone's hands. There's other bands that are technically as talented as Metallica, but they haven't put in the groundwork, Well,
and I love talking to Blake here. Like they're doing all the work for the music videos on tour. They're going out and shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever,
Yeah.
They're
Man,
the
and
real
again,
deal.
another one of those bands with a very working class ethic. Like I can tell he's like probably our age. He's got kids. He has a teenage daughter, so he's definitely close to my age. And I respect the fuck out of these bands that go out and do it and just like put in the effort. It's like, man, you can do it. Like Drowning Pool, Saliva, these guys, like all these bands we've talked to, Nonpoint even, like still grinding, it's
well, and for
it's
these
so cool.
guys, they haven't been doing it that long, really.
They're pretty new, yeah.
To be at that age and just say, hey, this is our last chance to try it, and they put it all of it in and go for it, and they're making it, So
I respect the fuck out of it, man. It's super cool. It's super cool. It just shows too, if you're genuine, like when he's talking about the I loved his commentary about his thought process behind the songs, where he's like, look, I'm writing stuff that's my personal experience, but everyone has these experiences.
Yep.
So people can relate to that,
And it might be slightly different, but yeah, when you write about something specific, yet it's vague enough for people to latch onto it, that's brilliant songwriting, I think.
Totally. So many bands, I think, go super vague. Like if you listen to read the lyrics to like a Deftones song or like a Nirvana song, it's pretty vague. It's kind of like, so I also respect that more, the openness that he had to say like, hey, this is kind of what this song is about. Where some artists won't even do that. They're kind of like, no, you figure it out.
Right. Yeah. And for me personally, like I love hearing the inspiration behind the songs. I feel like I can connect with it better, even if I don't have that relation with the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know the story, and now this song means something to me because I know it means something to someone else.
Well, and you probably have a similar story in your own life. That's what I love about what he was saying there too. That was super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can wrap it up, man. Today was a good one. Another one on the books. Our subscriber base is growing. Last time I checked, we're like 760, I think.
Okay, cool.
So things are cranking, and I mean, I think this is cool. Like I mean, there's a lot of bands that I have on the agenda to try and get, but I'm open. I've reached out to a couple of different PR people and just said, look, you got anyone that's looking to talk, send them our way. I want to talk about, like, I never heard anything about Saul till you mentioned them the other day, and now I'm like, yeah, I definitely want
Well, yeah, I had an interview with, scheduled out with Tim and stuff. We were supposed to talk to these guys a few weeks ago, and it just didn't work out because of the tour. And so I like this format. It worked out really good.
yeah.
But yeah, I got some ideas for the future too, just getting some guests on about, specific subjects or something like that, top tens,
Totally.
whatever. And so I'll have to shoot you some ideas. And
Definitely, I'm all for it, man. Anything we can do, like I said, if I want to keep doing, like, for me, it's like track of the week. I think stuff like that, or anything we can do to highlight music, like the Face Melters thing. It's like this week, I seriously want to do that song "Mind Right" as track of the week by Drowning Pool, because I love that song. Is great, man. I was like, and I would never have gone and like gone, oh, I'm gonna go listen to Drowning Pool and check them out if we hadn't talked to CJ. So
yep, awesome.
All right, Joey, take care of yourself. Thanks for tuning in, everybody that did, and we'll talk to you. We'll see you.